Good day, everyone. My name is Julika Mayrilion, and I am the one who will report the decadence. So, what is decadence? A decadence is a literary style or movement that embraces artificiality, aestheticism, and the exploration of decay and unconventional themes. It was flourished in the late 19th century, particularly in Europe, as a reactions against a naturalism and realism. In literature, decadence refers to a style or movement that emerges in the late 19th century, as what I've said a while ago, which is characterized by refined aestheticism, artificiality, and a rejection of conventional morality and bourgeois values. It often explores themes of decay, perversion, and artificial, emphasizing a style over substance, valuing the exotic and the morbid. So, decadent literature influenced the symbolist movement, which sought to evoke the emotion and ideas through symbolic language and imagery. The themes and techniques of the decadence contributed to the development of modernist literature, which further explored themes of alienation, disillusionment, and the breakdown of traditional values. Decadence continues to influence contemporary literature, with authors exploring themes of decay, moral ambiguity, and the dark side of human nature. The history and the development of decadence. The history of decadence involves a decline in cultural standards and a aesthetic style that emerged in the late 19th century in Europe. The concept of decadence dates back to the 18th century with Mon Montesquieu, suggesting that the Roman Empire declines was due to moral decay and loss of cultural standards. So the first major development in French decadence occurred when writers Théophile Cotter and Charles Baudelaire used the word decadent to represent a rejection of what they considered banal progress. Baudelaire saw the Roman decline as a model for modern poets to express their passion and used the term to include the subversions of traditional categories in the pursuit of full sensual expression. And then we have Joris Karl Huysmans, a novel, Huysmans' novel titled A Revolt in 1884, identified core members of a decadent movement and hailed writers for their creative and craftsmanship in exploring twisted ideas. Next, we have here is Anatole Badiou, founded the magazine Le Decadent in the 1886, aiming to formally define and organize the decadent movement. So the decadent movement valued human fantasy and aesthetics hedonism over logic and the natural world. It was characterized by refined aestheticism, artificiality, and a rejection of conventional morality and the bourgeois values. Themes often included decay, perversion, and the artificial, emphasizing style over again substance. The decadent movements influenced symbolism and modernism, contributing to themes of alienation and the breakdown of traditional values. It explored conflict attitudes towards modernity, contrasting aesthetic decadence, such excess of artifice, with social decadence or the excess in various forms. And lastly, in the New Orleans and Southern decadence began as a going away party in 1972 and evolved into a major LGBTQ plus event with significant economic impact. Move forward to the next slides, we have the characteristic of the decadence in literature. So as what I've always mentioned a while ago. It's covered the aestheticism, which the aesthetic one, the artificiality, the pessimism, exotism, and sensualism, and moral ambiguity. So we have first tackle the aestheticism. So emphasis on the beauty and refined states, often prioritizing aesthetic qualities over moral or social concerns. So it is mainly on the themes. It is mainly on focusing on the beauty that it appears more than the imperfect natural beauty that the world has. So that's it. Next is we have the artificiality, preference for the artificial and styled over the natural and authentic. So it is more likely what we perceived as beautiful rather than what is a genuine or true beauty that the world has given. So it's declined the authenticity, but rather it is more likely the unreal, the surreal, the unthinkable one. So next is the pessimism. So a sense of decline, decay, and disillusionment with the modern world. So it is rather on a negative side rather than on a positive side. Next, we have the exoticism. So, fascinating with the exotic, the perverse, and the unconventional. So, it's decadence highlight the exoticism, the unknown, the uncommon, the unthinkable. That's what I said a while ago. Next is we have the sensuality, focus on sensory experience and indulgence in pleasure, often to an excessive degree. So it is the indulgent in pleasure. So it is highlighting, it is more focusing on what we feel, what we sense, rather than what it perceives as it is. Next is moral ambiguity, so the rejection of traditional morality and exploration of taboo subjects, as it is covered as sensualism, which indicates that indulgent in pleasure. So it rejects the traditional morality and challenge it. So this is the moral ambiguity. We have next is the key themes or the themes in decadent literature. You can say that that was a decadent one if there are these followings. Firstly is the decay and corruption, which explorations of a physical and moral decay, often reflecting a broader sense of social decline or societal decline. So decay and corruption, it means like pessimism, di ba? Like that. Next is perversion and the taboo. So, fascinating with unconventional forbidden subjects, including sexual perversions and psychological abnormalities. So, it is more like in a dark side. Next, we have the death and morality, preoccupation with death, morbidity, and transience natures of life. And next is the artificiality and the illusion. Emphasis on the artificial and illusionary aspect of life, often as a means of escaping reality. So it is a coping mechanism. So people create the decadent as a coping mechanism to imply the other side of the world, but not on the authentic one or what we call the reality one. It is more of an imaginative and creativity. Next is spiritual exhaustion, a sense of spiritual emptiness and disillusionment with traditional values and beliefs. So, wings are the key figures and works in decadent literature. We have Charles Baudelaire, a French poet whose collections entitled Les Fleurs du Mal, or The Flowers of Evil, is considered a precursor to the decadent movement, exploring themes of beauty, decay, and the macabre. Next, jurist Carl Huysmans, a French author of a book entitled Arrivaux or Against Nature. So a seminal work of decadent literature that celebrates artificiality, refined taste, and the rejection of bourgeois values. We know bourgeois value is in a aspect of the Marxist or the kanang the concept of materialisms and economics. Okay. Next is we have Oscar Wilde or Wilde, Irish playwright and novelist known for his wit, aestheticism, and the explorations of moral ambiguity in works such as The Picture of Dorian Gray. Next, we have Arthur Rimbaud, a French poet whose experimental and visionary works such as The Initiation in Enfer, or in English, A Season in Hell, explore themes of rebellion, sensory experience, and the spiritual crisis. Next, we have Gabriele D'Annunzio, Italian writer, a poet known for his sensual and decadent prose, exploring themes of beauty, pleasure, and a cult of the self in works such as Il Piacere, or in English, The Child of Pleasure. Let me read to you The El Albatros by Charles Baudelaire. El Albatros by Charles Baudelaire. Often, to amuse themselves, the crewmen catch albatrosses, vast sea birds, which follow indolent companions of the voyage. The ship gliding on the bitter gulfs, hardly have they put them on deck, when these kings of the azure, clumsy and ashamed, pitiful, let go their great white wings, like oars dragging alongside them. This winged voyager, how awkward and weak he is! He, one so beautiful, he so funny and ugly. One teases his beak with a pipe stem, another mimes, limping the crippled that once flew. The poet is like this prince of the clouds, who hunts the tempest and laughs at the archer. Exiled on the ground in the midst of jeers, his giant wings keep him from walking.